This is Cooking with Jill. Welcome to my kitchen. This is my first video. Hey! Today I'll be cooking bacon and eggs and grits and toast for breakfast. I love grits. I love bacon. I love eggs. I love this toast, this bread that I'll be eating. So this should be an enjoyable breakfast. When I cook bacon, I like to cut the bacon in half. I don't like it full length. And a key to doing that is having a good sharp knife. These NeverDull knives are fantastic. So I usually just turn it over, find the medium seam. There we go. That's cut nice and easy. And then what I'll do is take my knife, come in here, and just open the package like that and lay that out into the skillet. So I'm going to be cooking some over medium eggs and some over easy eggs because Karen prefers her eggs over easy. And then a small mess of grits. So this is just a small mess of grits. This is 2 cups of water. Just a little bit of salt. You can salt and season it to your liking. I prefer a little bit of butter in it while it's cooking. Now, just let that come to a boil. Now for the bacon, lay it out flat. There we go. So that skillet's nice and hot. I'm going to turn it down a little bit. And I put the bacon up the sides. It'll cook. It'll get in with the rest of the bacon as the stuff cooks down. I always wash my hands after I handle the bacon. I generally just let this sit here for a bit, let it cook. The water's beginning to boil for the, well, almost ready to boil for the grits. It's steaming. So let's let that come up to heat. That bacon smells so good. There we go. I like to try to make sure my bacon stays flat and laid out well. And if you do that, you'll have nice flat strips of bacon that are attractive and easy to eat. Now, when I turn the skillet on, I make sure it's pretty hot so that, well, I make sure the burner was hot so that this thing would get up the heat pretty quickly. And then I turned it down a little bit because I don't want the bacon to burn. So that's looking good. When I cook my bacon, I like to turn it a few times. I'm going to turn the skillet up some more. And then what I'll do is I'll rotate these pieces that were out on the edge towards the middle of the skillet. so they'll cook a little better, a little faster, a little more even with the rest of the bacon. There we go. So our water is boiling for the grits. What you want to do with the grits is stir it in. You don't want to just pour it in or you'll just get big clumps of grits. And that's no fun. Nobody likes clumpy grits. I just keep it stirring. Let that come back to a boil. Okay. And now that it's boiling, just turn it down to a slow simmer. These are quick grits, so they cook in about 5 minutes or so. Now, one thing about grits is when you're cooking them, you never want to add more grits to the pan because that grits that you just added, they won't get done. You can always add more water to your grits, but you always want to make sure that you add, that you don't put too much water in there first. You can always add more. So this bacon's starting to take off now. Let me turn the bacon. Oh, that's starting to crisp up nicely. Getting nice and brown. You know, if you don't watch your bacon, it's going to burn. So you want this just to stay on top of it. It's a little hot, starting to smoke a little bit. I had it turned up too high, but that's okay. Nothing wrong with this. There we go. That bacon's doing really, really well. Okay. Oh, grits are splattering. That's common. You want to stir your grits frequently. Hopefully. And grits are really a personal matter. Some people like them thinner. Some people like them thicker. So that was 2 cups of water and a half cup of grits and just a little bit of salt in there. If you like it salty, you can add more salt. Later on, I'm going to put some salt and pepper and some other things in there. Ooh, let's look at this bacon. That's looking good. When it gets to this point, I like to turn it frequently to ensure that it doesn't actually start to get overcooked. So let's flip that over. Get up underneath there. Try not to have bacon laying on top of bacon. It doesn't always happen that way, but I try not to. So, yeah, even though some of that bacon started out on the outside, now it's all been shifted and it's all coming together. This bacon is almost done. If you like it a little more crisp, you should cook it a little more crisp. Now, I'm turning the skillet down because I'm going to add eggs to this, and I don't want that to be too hot. All right, the grits are looking good. I'm probably going to add more water to these grits because they're looking pretty thick right now. I like them thick, but they're going to get thicker. So that bacon is about done. Yeah, the bacon's done. So what I'm going to do is take the bacon out of the skillet and let it drain on a paper towel. There we go. Come on out of there. There it goes. So that bacon looks really good. Some of it's a little done. Another bit of it looks pretty good as well. So I'm going to set this aside. I'm just going to take this skillet, get it off the heat for a second. Let's check out these grits. Yeah, see, those grits are pretty thick. They're not quite done. I'm going to add just a little more water to those grits. Now, when you're cooking with this Ninja cookware, you always want to make sure that you're not using any sort of metal utensils that scrape. I love my Ninja cookware. I've had it for about 3.5 years now. I never had problems with it sticking or anything. Okay, so those grits will turn out nice. That will tighten up in a little bit. I'm going to make sure that burner's down on low. All right, the skillet had the opportunity to cool off a little bit. And now, so bacon grease is the best thing for your eggs. Makes them taste good. Right, this skillet could have been a little warmer. So I'm going to turn it up. I'm just trying to get the skillet back up to temperature. I left it off the burner just a little too long. So, years ago, I learned to cook breakfast at a greasy spoon restaurant called Joe and Eddie's in Fort Walton Beach, Florida. It was right downtown, and I was the breakfast cook. I worked from 7 o'clock in the morning till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, those grits are looking good. All right, so you can see this temperature's come up on the skillet for the eggs. So I'm going to turn it back down. I don't want it being too hot. So now is about the time that I would start dropping my toast in my toaster. I love my toaster. It's a Cuisinart 4-slice toaster. I love it. It's got a little timer on it. I'll show you later. The front of the toaster. It does a nice job. Okay, so if you're cooking over easy eggs, you want them to still have the whites just a little runny. So I'm going to turn that egg there, and I'm going to turn that egg there. And I prefer mine over medium. So I'm going to let those cook a little bit. An over medium egg is where the whites aren't runny at all, and the yolks have just begun to cook a little bit. And you can see that cooked just a little bit, but that egg is still just a little runny on the edge of the yolk, and that's what you would want. All right, I'm going to turn this, and now I'm turning this one. Let me stir these grits. Oh, that looks good. So these over easy eggs are done. See how that's soft there? That's the way an over easy egg should go. So I'll plate these up. That looks good. I'll set this plate aside. Let's let my over medium eggs cook. Yeah, those are good too. So I will take these eggs up. They could cook just a little bit longer. While those eggs are cooking a little longer, now this is not traditional grits, what I do here, but I have found that if I add just a little bit of Parmesan cheese to the grits, it will make them a little more flavorful. Ah, good timing. The first bit of toast came up. All right, I'm going to add a little more cheese in there. Let me just stir that in. These over medium eggs cooked perfectly now. Yeah, see that? That's good. See, they're still soft, maybe a little bit overcooked. And then let me turn the burner off, and I'm going to get the skillet off that burner. Okay. And then turn off the heat on the grits. Those grits are thick and they are smooth, and that Parmesan cheese just makes them a little bit creamy. So let me scoop out some grits on this plate. Here's a bit of grits right there. I top my grits with a little bit of butter. A little bit of pepper. Same thing for my eggs. I like salt and pepper on my eggs as well. And just, salt and pepper to taste. Throw some of that lovely bacon on there. Now, I prefer multigrain toast. There we go. A little bit of butter. That looks delicious. That was good. So my eggs were just a little bit overdone. They probably could have come out of the skillet about 30-45 seconds earlier. And the grits were perfect. Love the grits. The bacon was good, but I do a little twist with the Parmesan cheese with the grits. And I know it's not normal or typical. Normally it's just butter, salt, and pepper. But I've just found you throw a little bit of Parmesan cheese in there, it just gives it a little bit of a richer, creamier flavor. I like that. Now, if you ever had grits and you didn't like them, my southern voice is coming out, then it's easy to pick back up. I hadn't lived in the South in a while, but it's easy to pick back up. But if you had grits before and you didn't like them, trust me, I lived in Delaware and New Jersey between the two of them 35 years or more than 35 years, and I never had no good grits up there that I didn't make myself. So I know you may think you don't like grits, but try this recipe with the grits. Really, grits are a personal thing. To be frank with you, I had to look at the box and read the recipe because it had been that long. I thought it was a 5-to-1 ratio between the grits and the water, and it's not. It's a 4-to-1. And so if I tried to tell you the recipe, it'd have been wrong. But usually, I just play it by ear. I just put the water in there, get it boiling, starting a little bit of grits, and starting a little more. And then if I need to add more water to it, I add more water to it. And I usually do. Because like I said, when you're making grits, you don't ever want to add more grits to your pan. You want to add more water to your grits. Now, you can add too much water and they get runny and they fall apart. Don't do that. And also the grits will tend to tighten up a little bit when you're cooking them. It's a personal thing. Do you want your grits thicker? I tend to prefer my grits thicker. Most Yankees prefer their grits thinner, but that's just my experience in Yankee land. So yeah, I love them grits. The bacon turned out just absolutely perfect. And I like that nice hearty flavor of that bread. Now I think that bread is that Dave's famous seed bread or something like that. I normally get my bread from Aldi's, but I think Aldi's is just copying what Dave's does. And Karen picked that bread up at the outlet store for the bread store, so it was good. I enjoyed it. So in the description, I'll throw in links to the knives and the Ninja pans, those Ninja NeverDull knives and NeverStick pans. I've had them both for about 3.5, 4 years, something like that. And they're just a wonderful set of knives. They've got a sharpener in the thing, a few things. You stick it in there, you flick it back and forth a few times, and that knife is just as sharp as it can be. One day, I'll show you how that knife cuts potatoes, and you'll understand. And I cook out these pans all day, every day, and they just don't stick. You know, I throw a little butter in it, or make some olive oil or something like that, but these pans just don't stick. I've never used anything metal or sharp in them, so none of these pans have any scratches or anything like that. So I love them. You'll see me cooking with them regularly. If you learned something, you enjoyed yourself, you want to see more, like, share, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. Thank you, and have fun.